Kingdom agents. Obviously, yeah, that's our theme right now. I started chewing on, so what is that? I know Matt's done this a few times, just talking about comparing natural agents to the kingdom agent. So I thought, well, I gotta think maybe more about what I think is an agent, and I guess most of the time we all go to some movie about an agent because we don't all have friends that are secret agents, and if we do, we don't know because they didn't tell because they're secret, which is another part of my story. Yeah. So I grew up with my mother always telling me that the Russians were coming, so we had to prepare. So that was only in the 70s and 80s, and she kind of still says it, still talking about the Russians coming. And I'm like, no, you're in Australia, it's everyone else around you is coming.
Now no one's coming.
Yeah, no one's coming, you're on your own, you're in lockdown for the rest of your existence. Anyway, so my parents took me to James Bond movies. You know, in the 80s it was Roger Moore. And I've watched those movies again. They're terrible. I can't believe that every element, why would a parent take a young kid to that? But those pictures are all in my mind of Roger Moore and his multiple relationships and secret agent stuff. So we always had that in our brain. My brother and I had a bit of I guess we thought we were agent-ish, maybe because we were indoctrinated by that 80s stuff. So we grew up, my parents led a little church, inner city church, and we were in a government building that was 2 stories, and it was populated mostly by businesses during the week, but on Sunday, of course, there was nobody there. And my brother and I were pretty much the only kids. Everyone else, there was a big gap between us being, maybe we were 13, and I suppose he would have been 10. And then everyone else was like really small. So we, of course, were kind of PKs, I guess. So we got there early and stayed late. So we had lots of free time on our hands. So we broke into all of the offices. And we would climb on the roofs. We would get inside the elevators. And you know the movies where they bust the top lid open and they climb on top of we used to do that. We did all of that. We actually made little kits that had lock-picking kits. My brother got really good at picking locks. And our goal was to break into every single office, not to take anything, just to prove that we could do it. And we did that every Sunday for years. Nobody ever knew. We would run from security guards, jumping over balconies. We learned techniques to jump off a 2-story balcony without hurting yourself. So we were secret agents. We actually in the little thing with the lock-picking kit, I had a flashlight and a firecracker in case you needed to create a diversion. Never actually used the firecracker, but it was there and matches ready. But we did get kind of chased a couple of times. Yeah, we'd jump into secure areas. And so we actually had agents on our mind. Strangely, later in life, my brother was a commercial builder, and in my hometown there was a lot of embassies and government buildings, and some government buildings with no names on them. And my brother got security clearance to do work on these buildings. But he'd have to do an interview. There was one, I don't know if you'd call it the equivalent of the Australian kind of CIA kind of stuff. So he got, to fix ceilings. He was certified to go in to do all that stuff. So he had to sit down with a guy in a suit and have an interview before he'd go in that day. And the guy would ask him if he knew anybody at all who was ever been in any agency or anything like, basically just trying to test, see if if there's a connection to anybody. And my brother's like, no, don't know anybody. No, of course not. No. I'm just here to work, buddy. I'm just here to work. Says, all right, I'll walk you to the spot, the office where you've got to do the work. He's walking down the hallway with his security guy, and it's a long hallway, and around the corner comes his childhood buddy walking, and his name was Lee, and Lee goes, Lee? And my brother goes, what? And he's like, guy, Lee guy? And it says the agent grabs him and whisks him and throws him into a room. Says, you told me that you didn't know anyone in this agency or any kind of thing. He's like, I didn't know that he was a secret squirrel. I had no idea. Well, he was a childhood friend that lived up the street from us. And when he left high school, he got certified in secret squirrel stuff and would disappear for a large amount. And we didn't think anything about it. Turns out he's a special agent. So then he had to then have a meeting with my brother later in a van, like, come get in the van, give me your phone. He takes my brother's phone, breaks it all down, goes all through it, makes sure it doesn't have any detection devices, and says, just shakes his head, Guy, what do you think? He said, I had no idea that you were in here. How would I know? Agents, secret agents. Later in life, too, we realized we had a close family friend who was very close, and my parents would always say, if he comes and tells us we need to move, we're just going to do it. And it was a joke. It was kind of a joke. We knew that he was connected with lots of worldwide, well, no, we didn't even know that. We knew that he was high up in a government agency. And they would joke if he ever comes and tells us he's our inside information. We would just joke about it. Well, later in life, he got older, and his mind got a little weaker. And it all came out that he was pretty much attached to every worldwide 3-letter agency everywhere and was special operations guy all over the place. So we had no idea that when he really did say go, we had to go. We had to go. So on pondering agents, I realized that the theme agents was all through my life. I think what we're trying to find here is obviously the similarity between, a picture of a natural agent that works for an agency and what it looks like in the spirit. I think one thing to highlight between the earthly agent and the spirit, the heaven agent, is the special skills. As Liam Neeson would say, I have special skills. What does a kingdom agent special skills? What are the special skills of a kingdom agent? Kingdom agent special skills. I just put a few things down. Ability to find peace in situations that most people would freak out. Operate in wisdom. Ability to step out in faith when the outcome is very uncertain. Gives words of encouragement in season. Prophesies goodness of God over people's lives. Speaks truth. Any others? Anyone got any? Oh, Kim, I thought that was your hand. You're doing
Think of how they always have an exit. It's like they always sweep a room for a way of escape. And I think that's biblical. You always know.
a way of escape.
Yes, there's always a way of escape.
There's always a firecracker.
Spiritual firecracker. Can you imagine being 12 years old and seriously thinking that's what you're going to do? Now that I look back, I think that's really smart. Okay, so those attributes, ability to find peace, operate in wisdom, ability to step out in faith, give words of encouragement in season, prophesy, speak truth. Some of those are choices that we got to make. Some of those come out of a character, and some of them are learned and trained, God-trained, living life. I think one profound thing that I've just been thinking about with this is if you don't know you're an agent, you're not one. If you want to be one, then you are. For the kingdom. It's not like I want to be a CIA agent. Oh, now I am. Or, if you're not actively thinking about being an agent, you're not one. But if you are, then you are. I think I have to share this keeps weighing on me. So I had a friend that I found out yesterday that 2 weeks ago actually died, had a massive heart attack, died in a Walgreens. They revived him. He saw hell. He's not a believer. He said it was a boiling I was being boiled alive for 30 seconds. He was dead. And and then he said, next thing I woke up and the paramedic was pulling me back. So I went and visited him, and now he had a God moment after that. And I got to pray with him yesterday, pray over him, and he is asking very intently to basically be discipled and teach me something, please. And I was sitting there and I was going, oh, this is an agent thing. You know, I just got the text and I went that afternoon. I'm right here. And it felt this was running in the background of my mind, I was like, this is what we're supposed to do. This is our agent thing. It's happening. You're special for this moment, this thing. This is what you're called to do, whatever it is. Today's the day. You ready to go? And I think half the time it's just saying yes. And you say yes enough times, your special agent status goes up and up and up. That's what I think. That's what I feel. I feel like that's what I've lived. When you say yes, sometimes we go, other things that have been bouncing around in my head is we think that obviously all of this plays into identity, like what you're saying. When you know who you are, when you know who you've called to be, then you can operate as this. When you know who the authority is, and it's real, it's not just academic, that you can step out. It's like that 2 Kings, that one that I love, that I've probably quoted way too many times, but when Elisha, 2 Kings 6. Now, when the attendant of the man of God, being Elijah, had risen early and gone out, behold, an army with horses and chariots was circling the city, and his servant said, Alas, master, what shall we do? So he answered and said, Do not fear, those who are with us are more than those who are with them. Then Elisha prayed, O Lord, I pray, open his eyes that he may see. And the Lord opened the servant's eyes, and behold, the mountain was full of horses and chariots of fire all around them. And I'm like, that's a revelation of who's with you, you know, like what you're saying. It's like, so if you're an agent, you're carrying an authority. If you're a real agent, you have full knowledge of the agency that's backing you up, which is what this verse just shows really well. Who's backing you up, if you have an understanding. And then the other thing is you need to know who you are. And I think a lot of times, I've been processing this a lot with, sometimes we start to think who we are is the thing that we're good at. No, actually, I'm learning. As a dinosaur, I feel like very much like a dinosaur. So I realized when we had youth group with the kids a year or so ago, and I started talking about struggling with identity in kids and everyone just finding out who you are. And I started talking about, well, you know, a lot of times we go, well, you know, I play football, so I'm a football player. That's my identity. You know, I'm this. I surf. I snowboard. I do this. I'm a runner, or I'm a track and field guy. So that's what, in the old days, that's what we used to attach our identity to. Now you ask kids, right? You ready? I know Annika's going to say yes. Now you say, well, you used to say when I was a kid, oh, I'm known as a surfer. But now you say, no, I'm known as someone who cares. And I'm still learning to understand that. I want people to like me because I want to be known as, I don't know, it's I don't even know how to, it's feeling based. Yes, virtues. And I'm like, I don't understand that.
Virtues and experience.
Yeah. It used to be when I was, you know, a later teenager, how much you could bench press. That's what you're known for. Oh, yeah, I can do that. And you're like, ugh. The other guy, now it's like, well, I want people to know that I care about them. And I'm like, anyway, I just don't understand this at all. But I can't get out of this mindset because I'm very much what you do is who you are. That's what it used to be. Yeah, I don't understand that. Yes, that's right. You're soft. Just gonna, yes. there would be an agreement with the guys when I was in school that we'd beat this certain kid until he stopped feeling. That was the idea, we're going to make a man out of you. Wasn't that successful? Mike, you remember? Yeah, I don't know. I'm lost. Yeah, who you are. So I think it's still a factor. I can't think this theory has totally gone away yet, but we think our identities may be tied to something that we're good at, which is not true at all, because there's a whole bunch of things everyone in here hasn't done yet that you're possibly really, really good at. Like this, for me to stand up and speak is ridiculous. Like this is not something that I would go, it wasn't that long ago that that's not going to happen. I'm not going to do that. I'm not good at that. So that means it's not my identity. So that means I don't have to do it. And I'm going to tell everyone that's not me, like dancing. I'm not dancing. But yeah, I don't try. But maybe I'm, suppressed Fred Astaire. Yeah, I don't know. Yeah, I would, I realized when I was younger, it was always trying to figure out what I was good at so I could then define my identity. Jill and I did one of those around and rounds for a little while, and in my track and field experience, I played a bunch of sports, but I did track and field, and I could run pretty good, even though I wasn't a runner build. But one of my best friends was like an Australian champion, so he won everything. So my best hope was always second. So I was like, this is not good for my identity. Second. Actually, when we were home one year with Ella, and we were going through my box of stuff in my parents' house in Australia, going through all the stuff, and it was literally second, 100 meters, second, 800 meters, second, and I threw it across the room. And I was like, where's the first? Who cares about second? Trash this stuff. It's not a legacy to hand down to your kids. Second. So I took on javelin.
No one else did it.
Said nobody ever. So I became a spear thrower. Yeah, nobody else did it. So I won. I got the high school record. And then I think that's why I have a lot of bodily damage now. But I actually got a coach that was associated with the Olympic team. And I was like, I'm good at this. I have an identity. And then the coach moved to the other side of town and said, well, if, like an hour away, I was like, well, if you want to keep doing this, you got to come to my side of town. I didn't have ability to do that, so that was the end of that identity. But I realized we want to put the things we're good at in our identity. That's the weight of things we're good at. And it's actually nothing to do with any of that. So especially in this realm, it's like the Matrix with, do you believe, when Neo and Morpheus are fighting, and he goes, do you really believe that my muscles or my strength has anything to do with what's going on in this place? So I don't know if any of y'all realize this or not, but you're set apart. You're automatically set apart just by, I've got this written in my notes somewhere, but I don't know where it is. Just by becoming a believer, you're set apart. The other thing about a special agent is that he, all the movies you watch, he knows something that nobody else knows, typically, right? Except for Jason Bourne, who has special skills but has no idea where he is or who he is, which doesn't really work in the kingdom. You can't go around shooting and snapping necks in the kingdom not knowing who you are. You have to, that's not a very good segue. Keep going. Don't stay on that. Okay. Yeah, so we watch a spy movie. We realize that the agent knows something that nobody else does. That's what kind of makes it interesting. There's a bomb threat, there's a robbery, something's going to happen, there's an assassination attempt. Who doesn't know in the movie what's going on? In a James Bond movie, it's always the baker or the fruiterer on the street that they crash the Aston Martin into, and the fruit goes everywhere. The fruiterer has no idea what's going on because he would have moved his fruit well before they... Can you picture that scene in your head? Over and over and over again, the fruiterer has no idea. Average people in the bazaar in Morocco, as James Bond goes through, they have no idea. Well, there's people running across the roofs and shooting, and otherwise they would have already left before that had already happened. So what's happening there? You tracking with me?
Got it.
We know something's going on. That's the difference. We know something's going on. We know there's a war. We know there's a demonic agenda that's trying to eliminate everything, every good thing that God has done, and all the work that Jesus has done. There's an enemy that's trying to eliminate all of it. That's his goal. He doesn't really care if you're in the way or not. If you're manifesting, it's an overused word, but if you're manifesting the gifts of God, you're in the way. So you have to go. We are in a war. If we're not aware, we should be. The kingdom of darkness is bent on destroying every evidence of a loving God on this earth, avoiding everything that Jesus has done. On the flip side, there's a good God who has a program of open enrollment to sign up for freedom, peace, joy, and all the equipment you need to defeat the enemy in your own life and in the world. I love, do you know the 1 Samuel 14, you know the passage where Jonathan decides he's going to go take on the Philistines by himself with the armor bearer? And says, it doesn't say he says much, but I can picture him, the Israelites have been under oppression by the Philistines for a long time. It doesn't say why, it just says, now the day came that Jonathan, the son of Saul, said to the young man who was carrying his armor, let's cross over and mess with the Philistines. It doesn't kind of say why or what provoked him to. Just one day it was like, today's the day. Today's the day. We're starting something. Nobody else is doing anything. You know the story where he crawls up the bank. And he calls out to them and says, hey, look at us. And he says, if they say come up, then we've got them. If they say we'll come down to you, then we're going to run. And they say come up. And legendary preachers talk about the worst military strategy ever. They crawl on their hands and knees to climb up the bank, to climb up to the feet of the Philistines and then stand up. But I of course love the armor bearer. It just says, do whatever's good in your heart. But I'm in, whatever, let's just do it. He goes up, obviously kills all the Philistines, and the earth quakes. I love that. There's such a shift. There's such a shift by his stepping out in reckless faith to take things on. I've got the passage here. Where is it? The first. Oh yeah. After he's done that, they've killed the 20 guys, and there was a trembling in the camp, in the field, and among all the people. Even the garrison and the raiders trembled, and the earth quaked, so that it became a great trembling. So all the ones who weren't shaking, the ground shook enough to shake everybody. Everything changes after that. There's a sidebar. I was doing a little bit of research, watching some stories on Israel. There was a period, jumped into, I think, the 19th century, when England was really for Israel for a while, And they went in, they were defending Israel from, I think it was the Turks. The Turks were coming in. There was a situation where the Turkish army had surrounded everything, and this garrison of English soldiers were in a position where they were stuck out in the desert, and they knew the next morning it was going to be terrible. They were going to rain down on them. So the commanding officer is obviously stressing out. The English commanding officer is stressing out, starts reading his Bible, opens to this passage, and starts reading it. Well, here in this passage, it has the names of the, can't see it right now, but no, I don't need to see it, it's all right. It has the names of the locations, right? He looks up on the map where they are. I guess he has the old interpretations of the old names. They're in the exact same place. The Turkish army is up and the English army is down. When we used to like the English, this is a good story. So they do the same thing. He realizes they're in the exact same place. So they sent agents up this crag, and these crags where Jonathan, his army bearer, climbed up, they're named, so he knew where they were. They found them. He went up, they defeated the Turks. And it was this, we went back to talking about the ground. The ground is saturated. Where there's a faith step, the ground gets saturated. There's something about this just rang with me about where we're at right now. The stuff that's going on. You can go back and look about all the things the Philistines were doing, and it seems like it might have a similar connotation to things that are going now. But one of the keys is with this. After they heard the story of Jonathan doing it, the Israelites, and then they saw that the Philistines were escaping, there was Israelites that were fighting with the Philistines, fighting against their own people. There was Israelites that were hiding in caves that wouldn't, just hiding, trying to get away from the Philistines and the whole conflict. When the story of Jonathan's bravery and everything that had happened came, the Israelites that were fighting with the Philistines against their own people turned on the Philistines and started fighting them back, killing them. So the ones who were too afraid, sounds like today, the ones who are too afraid to do anything, they were hiding out and not make a stand, those ones, when they heard the story of the bravery, came out of the caves and joined the fight. When the ones who were on the wrong side got the witness, heard the story of the bravery, turned and said, we're back, we're on your side. Jonathan was an agent right there. Yeah, I know we don't have these moments every day, and these are maybe once-in-a-lifetime stories that happen, but I think there's a pretty good metaphoric story here. I don't know what that looks like in this day and time to get up and go, okay, we're going to climb the hill. I guess God's calling everyone to slightly different hills. Everything is unraveling, I think, right now. I don't think it's just for a moment. It's just an awkward space in time. I put this down. I think the structure of the world system has been set up for thousands of years by a kingdom of darkness, and all is about to be revealed and collapsed. All the chaos you see, from COVID, bioweapon, to elections, to Epstein, human trafficking, world currency markets, supply chain issues, Russia moving on Ukraine, China moving on Taiwan, vaccine mandates around the world, and even if you haven't seen transhuman experiments they're doing with, putting machines and chips in people. This is all connected. This is not separate little issues on isolated stages. It's one big stage. So we're in a season of unraveling, exposure of dark agendas. I still think there is foundational theories, not just tied to this, what we're seeing in, say, newsworthy stuff, but I think there's foundational theories in science, archaeology, astronomy, history, every other science that's being taught, that we've been taught for years. And I have some ideas. It's not all about, did we land on the moon or not? that we could maybe go into that. How flat is the earth, Isaac? You know, I don't know. But I think there's foundational stuff here that we've all been taught and we've all learned that we think is truth. And I don't mean to just undercut everyone's, confidence and existence in where you are today and say everything's a lie. But I think what I'm getting to is there's a big shaking. There's a big shaking coming where we're going to go, oh, this is not what we thought it was. That person's not who we thought they were. That established fact is not what we thought it was. I struggle, to pick one thing, giants. Giants doesn't enter into any of evolutionary process. It actually messes it up. I don't know if it's a theory or a truth, but there's articles and photographs and things of giants being found all across the US, some with double rows of teeth. I haven't personally seen them, so obviously I'm throwing out these things as possibilities. But we know about the biblical giants and the race of everything that was going on. There's many stories from Columbus to even Indian tribes that describe giants. But in this modern world, it doesn't fit into anything anywhere. So back in the day, they say that when you'd find a giant, you'd call the Smithsonian, which was actually created to collect all the giants' skeletons, and well, now we don't see them anymore. So there's quite a theory that the Smithsonian was commissioned to eliminate evidence of all giants. The whole giant thing actually just throws everything into chaos. If you just took about a linear scientific theories. Evolution's into a mess. Where did they come from? Where did they go? What were they doing? I don't know if y'all have ever seen the elongated skulls of Egypt and Peru and all of that stuff. There's a whole bunch of stuff that's not explained, doesn't fit into this nice, clean narrative that's been taught. So I think, especially archaeology, I think there's some things that are going to come to light in these next few years that are going to crash the whole system. They probably already have. We just don't know about them. All I'm saying with this sidebar of conspiracy is that I just feel like it's a season where we need to be prepared, that we're prepared in ourselves that whatever's coming out, and there will be things coming out, that we are not so destabilized, that we are not a mess, because our foundation is in something else. It's not, if significant historical characters aren't dead and they come back to life and they're on the stage and it's real, our life doesn't collapse, because our foundation's in something else. Even, monetarily, there's lots of talk about things being reset and changed, whole new systems that are going to come into play. I guess it really goes back to, if we want to be an agent, we can be. If we don't, there's two lists. You get saved, you go on the Lamb's Book of Life list, then you go on preliminary demonic hit list, and then you go into another list that I call the agent, non-agent list, where not engaged combatant, basically not to the enemy, non-combatants, and then ones that choose to fight. And I think that's where we are. I know this year is going to be crazy. Stuff is going to be revealed. Stuff's going to come out. And in our spheres, for it just to be in a place of preparation. I think we all know, I'm already speaking to the choir, obviously. We just need to get dialed in. I was really, after just last night going to see that friend that came back from the dead, I didn't have to get prayed up. I was just ready to go. And I got to sit and talk with him, and he was communicating his story and the stress, and he's been through PTSD. He's got a PTSD situation. And he's weeping, trying to hold it together. And after we got done, he just said, "Oh, so great to be able to talk. I feel so much peace. I've never talked to anyone about this." And I was just like, I was just ready to go. And it wasn't that I was being great. It was there. It was time to be an agent. and I got to be it, and I felt really blessed. And I'm going to, probably this next week, just go back and lead him in a prayer. I didn't rush it. I just wanted to see where he was at. But he's ready. He's like, show me Jesus. And I've never had anyone do it in quite that way before. It was really cool. So that's pretty much all I have. I think this the stir is just to challenge us all, just to stay ready, be ready, stay in the Word, stay in community, ask for enhanced special skills. Yeah, and it's just a yes. It's just a yes time, I think. So I stuck to my timer. It's pretty good. Thanks. I might just pray. Can we just stand up? Father, I thank you for this group, these ones who are here, Lord. These are all willing soldiers. I just know that already. I ask you would just pour it out. More special skills, Lord, from you. More of your Holy Spirit. Lord, we need you in this time. We want to be ready. We just don't want to be doing damage control when it all proverbially hits the fan. But Lord, we want to be going ready. We want to be ready, prepared, Lord, for that we are stable, that we are on the rock. Lord, thank you for your goodness, your time that you've given us to prepare, to refocus. We want to use it well. And Lord, I just pray a blessing over these people in this day. Take us in, Lord, and just maybe the harvest be plentiful. Lord, lead, just even send ones, Father, to each one here. Ones that are lost, that just need a safe place. Do your work, Lord. We just give you this day in Jesus' name.